The phone rang, but it wasn't plugged in. Where could the call have come from? And when I say it rang, I mean it actually rang like an old-fashioned rotary phone. The ringer was that old-fashioned kind that just whoa and quit ringing until you pick up the receiver. That sound is burned into my nightmares forever. I was living with my mom at the time in her home. She had recently passed away, and I had moved in to help sort through things and clean out the house. I was working with a real estate agent to sell the house. It was the weekend, and I was just about to leave for a long drive. My mom had passed away of a sudden heart attack. My sister and I were completely blindsided. She was only 58. I flew back in from another country and landed late at night. I didn't know anyone else who had a key, so I stayed in her guest room. The house was full of all these painful memories, so I didn't unpack anything. I just threw some stuff on the floor and went to sleep. In the morning after, I started going through some things, and I found this box of letters that was clearly meant for me. I opened it up, and there was something in the bottom of the box. It was this old rotary phone. I remember it vividly now because I had one just like it when I was a kid. It was the same color, same design. I even used to have a pink one just like it. It brought back some memories, and I decided to plug it in and see if it worked. I asked the real estate agent if she knew anything about this phone. She said no, but she would ask around. And while we were talking, the phone rang. That's right, the phone rang. I could have sworn I just plugged it in. The ringer was really loud. It was that old-fashioned kind that just won't quit ringing until you pick up the receiver. That sound is burned into my nightmares forever. I hung up on the call, and I figured it must have been a wrong number. Later that day, the real estate agent called me to let me know. She asked her family, and they said the phone probably had a faulty connection or something. She suggested I just unplug it. But before I did, I decided to make one more call and see what happened. I dialed 123, 4567, which is the old-fashioned way of testing a phone line. The phone rang. It's time when I picked up the receiver, I heard a click and then a dial tone. I made a few other random calls, and they all went through. It was weird, but I decided to leave it plugged in for the next couple days until the house sold. A few hours later, the phone rang again. I thought it was weird that I hadn't gotten any calls before. I was expecting an automated voice on the other end, but instead there was a woman. "Hello," she said. Then she hung up. I tried calling back, but it was disconnected. The real estate agent got back to me and said none of her family recognized the number. Maybe it was a wrong number, or maybe someone was messing with me. But I knew in my gut it wasn't a wrong number. I know how many people live in the area. If it was a wrong number, it would have had to be pretty close by. My mom would have gotten a call like this before. She would have known who it was. So I continued leaving the phone plugged in. Every once in a while it would ring, but no one would be there when I picked up. Sometimes I would get a sniff of roses on the other end of the line. Other times I would hear what sounded like screaming in the background. Once I heard what sounded like sobbing, then the line would go dead. One day the phone rang, and on the other end I heard what sounded like static. Then a voice came over the line. "Is this your mother's house?" I felt a chill run down my spine. "Yes, it is. Who's asking?" I replied. "Hi, I'm a friend of your mother's. I just wanted to see if she was here." I tried calling from my cell phone and it didn't connect. Static. Sorry, wrong number. Thank you for calling. Then I hung up. I should mention that I did not recognize the voice. I asked the real estate agent if she knew of any friends of my mom's who would be in the area. She told me to check the caller ID and try calling the number back. I checked the caller ID and it showed no number. I tried calling back, it was disconnected. Then one afternoon the phone rang. I was getting ready to leave the house. I walked over to the phone and looked at it. It was still plugged in, but the cord was dangling loosely. It hadn't been unplugged. On the receiver was this little light that turned on when the phone was off the hook. I remember thinking, wow, the phone knows I'm looking at it. It must know I'm paying attention. It feels like something's trying to tell me something. I picked up the receiver and the voice on the other end sounded desperate. "Hello, is your mother here?" I replied. "She's not here anymore. She passed away." Silence. "Oh, I'm sorry. Goodbye." Then the line went dead. Later, the real estate agent called me back and said she checked with all of her contacts and no one knew who the person might be. And this was before caller ID was a thing. The real estate agent encouraged me to unplug the phone. She couldn't believe that someone would keep calling with no result on the other end. And finally, the last call, I was packing up the last of my things. I was so tired. I hadn't slept well since being there. I was jumpy and exhausted, and I just wanted to leave. I was taking a break and sitting on the floor when the phone rang. I looked at it, and it was still plugged in, but the cord was dangling loosely. It hadn't been unplugged. I looked at the receiver and saw that little light turn on. Again, I felt the same feeling of dread come over me. It feels like something's trying to tell me something. I picked up the receiver, and the voice on the other end sounded like my mom. "Hello?" she said. I froze. I couldn't speak. "Is that you, honey?" she asked. Then the line went dead. When I tried calling back, the number was disconnected. Before I left the house, I made one final sweep to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. As I walked through the house, I could feel eyes on me, like something was watching me. I walked into the room where the phone was, and it felt cold. There was this heavy feeling of dread in the room. I remember standing there and thinking, this is insane. No one's going to believe this story. I ripped the phone cord out of the wall, and I ran out of the house as fast as I could. After my mom passed, I began searching for answers. I wanted to understand what happened. Why did she pass suddenly? Was there something she was hiding? Had she been sick? After I uncovered everything, the only thing I was left with were more questions. I miss my mom every day, and I wish I could talk to her one more time. I wish I could tell her how much I loved her and thank her for everything she did for me. Strange that the phone rang, but it wasn't plugged in. What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.